The story of the ancient Mesopotamian or Sumerian civilization. Sumer was the world's first known ancient civilization, and Mesopotamian actually means Meso plus Tomian, that is between rivers, and it came along the Tigris Euphrates rivers. All these ancient civilizations like Indus Valley or Egyptian or Mesopotamian or Chinese came along river valleys because huge rivers, here Tigris and Euphrates, would flood the plains and would make the soil very fertile. And the fertility of soil gives rise to richness of crops. So the whole area was very rich with crops. So obviously people will thrive. And people thrived. And the Sumerian civilization came in the southern Mesopotamia, you can call it's some modern day Iran, and it thrived. This civilization also came up with innovations and technical innovations, wherein you had the wheel, you had the ox plow, you had pottery, you had sun-dried bricks. So they had all these wonderful technical innovations which had a huge impact in the later history. Another interesting thing about the Mesopotamian civilization is it was between Indus and Egyptian, so there was a lot of cross-cultural currents. It was a crossroad between two great civilizations. Then that is why it is called the Cradle of Civilization. Cradle of Civilizations. So that was a very cradle of civilization because it gave rise to other things. It was a birth in a way. It was mainly the birth because it invented writing. It was the earliest civilizations which invented writing in a script called cuneiform. Then after the Sumerians, there were two other civilizations that came there, Babylonian and Assyrian civilizations. And one of the famous king of Babylon was Hammurabi, who gave his code of Hammurabi. And that code which he gave still is used in a very deep sense because it's the first proto-constitution. So you can see that this civilization was truly a civilization as we see today. It was a huge world in itself. And here there were hierarchies. Because of the richness and the thriving of agriculture, there was a lot of wealth, and slowly the power pyramid came in. That is what happens in the ancient civilizations in every area. So you had the kings and you had the priests. They were polytheistic. They believed in many gods in human form. Then you had the artisans, the merchants, and then you had the labor. So there was a kind of social pyramid. The king, priests, and government officials. And then the artisans, merchants, farmers, and fishers. And then you had the slaves. And they were usually the prisoners of war or criminals or some people who had to pay off debt. So this was the hierarchy of people. So people lived here for a long period, for centuries, until the Persians took over this land and this civilization ended. That's how it ended. So this was a huge civilization which contributed to how we live today in terms of law, in terms of certain inventions which got further expansion, further development. It was between two civilizations. There was cross current, there was writing. So you can see that world today being kind of, if you look at the world today, you can see that there is clearly the same things we see today, the social pyramid, the laws, all these things came in this seeds of ancient civilizations, one of which was Mesopotamian civilization. In the next video, we'll see the Egyptian civilization.